An honor again to be connected to Dr. D.P. Khaitan, and I'm pretty sure our viewers will recall him. He had been kind enough earlier to share his expertise about the ECG and arrhythmia changes in COVID 19. So today we will learn about the basics of the ECG, especially its transition through the times of history. uh, the ECG machine which we see today, it's definitely not the one which was invented almost centuries ago, and how it was demonstrated. So it will be a great thing to learn from the uh, humongous experience of our great Dr. D.P. Khaitan. And as I have already introduced him in my previous session as well, he has decades of huge experience in this field and has been contributing as well quite a lot. In fact, he has also written a popular ECG book as well. And currently, Dr. Khaitan, he also is the honorable president for CCDSI, which is Clinical Cardio-Diabetic Society of India as well for 2020-21. And let's get over to Dr. Khaitan Sahab to learn about uh, the history of ECG. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Over
sir.
to you, Dr. Khaitan.
Thank you, sir. Dear global friends, it's my pleasure to introduce the subject of taming the ECG through the wind of time. I mean to say, one can gain the mastery over the ECG just by studying the events of history, whatever the world has witnessed. All of us know that there is an electrical ring or the aura around the heart. And we have to pick up the aura by a special process, by special methods. And it is very surprising to note that the first electrical current was detected by Mr. Carlo Matteucci, a professor of physics at the University of Pisa, by demonstrating its presence in the heart of the frog with every beat in 1842. The first recording of ECG on paper has been credited to the name of Dr. Agustin de Vella, British physiologist belonging to St. Mary Medical School of London. Just by the age of perhaps most probably 31, he did this experiment. With the help of the mercury capillary electrometer, designed in 1873 by the French physicist Gabriel Lippmann. You might have seen the thermometer, mercury column thermometer. There is also the sort of the capillary temperature recording thing, just like that. This wall of the capillary electrometer is having some sort of the friction. And also the mercury column inside that moves with somewhat more resistance due to the force of the inertia. That's why all the waves, Dewey waves, could not be recorded. I do admit that thing. You just see that this diagram above, only two distorted reflections were recorded. What he called V1 and V2, V1 belonging to the ventricular depolarization and V2 belonging to the ventricular depolarization. Let us say what was the later modification. Here, Mr. Einthoven's had just modified the shape of these two, or better to say the ultimate results of the two distorted waves rather in two form. He said that there is a formation of rather four waves A, B, C, D. These waves just resemble with that of the modern PQRST. Here A represents the atrial wave, P represents the S part or Q part of the QRS complex, and C represents the ventricular depolarization, and D represents the ventricular depolarization, the T part. Here just the superimposition of one part of the this ABCD by the PQRST complex, just to have a comparison, nothing else. So please look at diagram for 1 or 2 seconds. Just I'm keeping it on the screen. Okay. The credit of nomenclature also goes to Einthoven, PQRST. He was very fond of Descartes, a very French scientist there during his era. This French scientist worked upon the law of the diffraction and pointed 2 points, P and Q, over the curve. And Mr. Einthoven just selected these 2 points as the initial nomenclature, P, Q, and just the following points of the English alphabets, P, Q, R, S, T. U was also the U Purkinje fiber recovery was also the discovered by this very scientist, Mr. Einthoven. It's a true thing. So this is very important to know what does the meaning of PQRST U for us today. This is the huge machine, just occupying 2 rooms at a time, 600 pounds in weight, 5 or 6% to operate the machine, and 2 baguettes or 3 baguettes to say just by side of the patient. Using the immersion, just the patient was told to immerse the hands inside the saline water, just a conductor of the electricity, as we use nowadays the jelly itself. This diagram, I would like to take a few minutes more. The electrical genesis of the cardiac circular or the cardiac aura is from the SA node. This SA node sends impulses to the conductive system to the myocardium of the ventricle ultimately. And the electricity also gets spread surroundingly. There's a deploy sort of the flow. Deploy for the means there's a flow of the current from the minus side to the positive side always. So say minus side, if say over the right soldier, left would be the plus side. Accordingly, PV side or the left side of the it will be positive if the current flows from the minus side to the left side. That's a very peculiarity of these things. Other thing I want to emphasize that wherever you lead place, whether here, whether here, if the lead placement is away more than 50 centimeter, there is no difference in the amplitude of the voltage. So ultimately, the placing of leads, these leads, exploring leads in the form of the triangular is equilateral triangular, because no difference of the voltage if they are placed beyond the 15 centimeter. That's a very nice part, I think. Einthoven's triangle. Einthoven's lecture in 1912, while he was receiving the Chesla Clinical Society in London, revealed this equilateral triangle formed by the standard leads 1, 2, and 3. And this triangle was known as after his name, Einthoven's triangle. Just see in the center R, right arm or right soldier, left arm or left soldier, foot, left foot. Accordingly, R, L connection lead 1, R, F connection lead 2, L, F connection lead 3. This is important to know. And in the center is the heart itself. It is very honored moment for the entire world when Dr. William Einthoven was awarded with Nobel Prize in 1924 for his work on the discovery of mechanism of the electrocardiograph. I can say with very much confidence that whatever we are having today in form of the electrocardiograph or the electrocardiogram, almost all are due to the gifts or to the inking of the brain of Dr. William Einthoven. I'm having great regard for him. I think every colleague of ours is having the same regard for him. He was a great personality. Here you just see that it is said that if the 3 terminals from the right arm, left arm, and the left leg are combined together, the resultant is the chip. Why? Because there is just the current gets nullified here. No current flow because all the 3 terminals are joined together. If you visualize the Kirchhoff's voltage law, which states that voltage around the loop equals to the sum of every voltage drop in the same loop for any closed network and also equal to 0. This is a closed network. So you just see the R minus above, minus below. LA plus above minus below, LL plus above plus above. All are nullified. There is no question of the current flow. This infinite electrode is very essential to record the differences of the voltage when one applies as a exploding electrode to some part of the body. So this is the, if we record the voltage from the right against the infinite electrode, the difference is against the zero only. So true image would be recorded. Here, there is a great contribution of Emanuel Goldberger in 1942. Before the discovery of this augmented leads, there was an angle difference of 60 degree only, 60 degree wide difference. If there is a defect lies in between the 60 degree, then the defect might have been missed. So there are further divisions of the by 30 degree by the augmented leads. This was the credit. The credit goes to Dr. Emanuel Goldberger, who divided the entire circle into a part 30 degrees, so many segments. We just count the segment here. These segments are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that, and so on. One is positive side, other is the negative sides. So it is very helpful. You record the flow of the current over the frontal limbs or limbs axis. That's very essential. It gives a lot of information for the interpretation of the ECG. Here, the birth of the chest leads. American Heart Association and the Cardiac Society of Great Britain, they are obliged to these two societies. In 1938, they have invented the voltage. V stands for the voltage V1 to V6. These V1 to V6 is how to place the exploding electrodes. All of us know, nothing to mention here. So this is very important. These are actually these electrodes are actually the eyes of the transmural changes of the voltage, transmural play changes of the voltage across the myocardium. Very important one. In a grammatic sketch of the 12 leads, all of us know. In 1954, American Heart Association standardized the 12 heart leads. This station already we know. So with these words, I express my thanks a lot for within my heart. We have so many busy persons, and just you have listened to me. So I now just get myself here. I request Dr. Professor Narendra Prasad ji to ask some questions or just to clarify the situation, whatever I have left. Please, Dr. Professor Sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Khaitan, for sharing us and taking us through the timeless journey of ECG through these beautiful times, literally from the beginning when the physicists were trying to work it out and they were able to see some deflections. Later on, Eindhoven as well from Netherlands, he was able to discover it, in fact, and show it to the scientists in London. In fact, I remember. And later on, you were able to show it very well. How can it be used, especially using those limb and the other chest leads as well, by placing according to the strategic locations and all. We all are aware that you have been having decades of experience in the field of cardiology as well. How has been your journey going through these machines of ECG with the passage of time? Can you kindly share it?
Yes. Just in brief, I just want to say that I came in this field of ECG, perhaps most likely in year 1984. Mm-hmm. After 4 or 5 years of passing my MD in general medicine, I started doing this job. And due to the scarcity of money, I was having no much money at the time. So I have to borrow from the bank, actually, to say. Then I was able to purchase the machine. Ultimately, the machine was in my hands. That machine.
I'm so sorry to disturb you. So approximately, how much did it cost during those times? Approximately
10,000.
Oh my God! So to tell my global audience, and also it approximately costed around 100 pounds, but in 1984, right?
Yes. It was costing 10,000 Indian rupees.
Okay, so 10,000 Indian rupees is equivalent to, I would say, 110 pounds almost. But we should remember this, it was around, as I'm telling you, almost 27 years back. 27 years back. Yes, please. No, please carry on.
My practice started running like anything after the purchase of machine.
Wow.
I was famous my division as a ECGologist.
Wow.
And, anyhow, the initial machine was very, though it was handy, but only one single strip was there, starting from 120 to the V6. And every time we have to move the one shift, second shift rotator, and accordingly, and over the we have to change the leads over the chest. One, then one, V2, then V1, so on. It was a difficult task. The compounder was assisting me, my assistant was assisting me, and was doing the job. In that way, I started. Later on, there was some more modification. The twisting rotation was less.
Okay.
And there is a sterilization in between two cuffs. It was somewhat easier. And so ultimately, the digital machine came. And I had my digital machine since a long years together. I don't remember the actually date, but I'm having that only a single paper is it having the image of all the 12 leads. So by the glance, one can say what are the changes I'm dealing with. Of course, one may need the closer inspection to arrive to the accurate diagnosis. That's a different issue. So this is miraculous invention now. A watch ECG or a portable ECG, pocket ECG. There are so many things. I request Dr. Professor Narendra Prasad just to enumerate those things.
Wow.
Because he.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Khaitan, for sharing your a huge experience, in fact. And in recent times, I remember it was way back in 2000, exactly 15, when I was doing my executive master at London School of Economics as well. We were doing a paper on the something what is called as in current times like iWatch. So using a unipolar recording from the watch, you could see an arrhythmias as well. And during 2015, and I really felt glad around 2018, like just around 2 years from ago, when the iWatch was launched, and it has been so successful. Like even now, uh, it's not only just being used for the diagnosis of arrhythmias, but also for diagnosing some other segmental changes as well in terms of myocardial ischemia, infarction as well. For that, still research is going on. It is US FDA approved as well. The iWatch is US FDA approved for detection of atrial fibrillation as well. I'm pretty aware, and I'm pretty confident there will be a lot of newer changes. To tell you about the future perspective, I am associated with a band, fitness band, something like a watch, which can be used to even predict the chances of heart failure for a patient.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice.
So these are the lot of other newer things as well. So that will be really interesting. So again, we would like to thank Dr. Khaitan for sharing his humongous experience with all our audience, and it was really interesting to go through all these things and learn from him. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.